This is Bad Movies We Love, part of the Shice Podcast Network.
Hello, Bad Movie lovers, and welcome to Dystopian December here at Bad Movies We Love. I am your host, Nick Scheist.
The master of this stupid stuff!
And boy, do I have some good stuff for you this month. On deck, we've got Barbed Wire, Cyborg, Tank Girl, and we're going to be kicking things off with Johnny Mnemonic. Even our buddy Seth over at Movie Friends said Johnny Mnemonic rules. So it's time to upgrade the software on your wet-wired hard drives because...
if you're listening to this, you are the Resistance.
And you can help the Resistance by opening the show notes and clicking on the listener survey right from the device you're listening on right now. It's only a couple of questions, it's quick, it's easy, and it's anonymous. You can also participate in the Resistance more actively by using the new Bad Movies We Love hotline. You can call or text 1-805-285-3885 and share your thoughts, concerns, suggestions, or just say hi. You can also email me at badmovieswelove@theshice.com. The link for that is up in the show notes as well. And I still believe that word of mouth is the best press. So, if you like this show, you want to see the show thrive, just tell somebody about it. Like our friend Michael Lewis, who always makes sure to repost the show on Instagram and on Twitter. I see you, Mike. I appreciate it. And I'm going to dedicate that Tank Girl episode to you. If you're feeling especially generous, you can make a monetary contribution to the show, like our friends Sharon and Ben and Sean over at coffee.com/badmovieswelove. That's ko-fi.com/badmovieswelove. I really appreciate your support. But without further ado, I was joined once again by my friend V from the Movies You Missed podcast to talk about a film that is very near and dear to the identity of this show. It's one of the movies that I grew up with that helped inspire this show. And of course, we're talking about Robert Longo and William Gibson's techno sci-fi thriller from 1995. It's Johnny Mnemonic. I don't know that this movie was ever going to sort of find its ideal sweet spot.
I think there's a really good movie in there that would have been a little bit more considered a classic than now it's just kind of this silly cult favorite that we love to talk about.
He's got a brain implant. That's all I need to know, right?
This being in the early 90s as well, it's even harder for the audience to keep up with all of the different plot lines, so all these different characters, and all of this new terminology, because it's stuff that we never encountered before in 95, right?
And then they also outsourced their evil to Dolph Lundgren.
I know his name is Street Preacher in the movie, but Robot Jesus is kind of my favorite term right now.
Who's also jacked up on, like, robot steroids.
There's a lot of meat here, and it was just too much for a 90-minute movie.
They say wet-wired a lot in the first third of this movie.
Oh, that tank is disgusting.
Okay, goodbye, brain.
All my life, I've been careful to stay in my own corner. Looking out for number one, no complications. Now suddenly, I'm responsible for the entire fucking world. And everybody and his mother is trying to kill me if my head doesn't blow up first.
Maybe it's not just about you anymore.
V, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for being here again.
Thanks for having me back, Nick. I was really looking forward to this episode.
Me too. I had this one marked down for a while, and I knew that it was coming up. And I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna lead off Dystopian December with this movie. But before we get to the movie, how have you been since the last time we talked?
I've been great working hard on my podcast and really enjoying our conversations on Twitter. I have so many movies that I want to discuss with you that I realize I'm such a big fan of terrible films.
You and me both. And as I found out, there is no shortage of them, one way or the other. Some are really, really bad, where I'm having to like scrape together trivia and reviews from all over the place and sort of put together a house of cards that is very precarious. But sometimes we run into stuff that's kind of in the middle that has a good cult following, but the critics hated it. And that's sort of the sweet spot for the show.
Have you ever picked a film that is just unanimously hated across the board and everybody's like, no, this is just a bad movie?
No, because I want to talk to people about like the movies that they love. So I don't typically aim to just like crap on something. But I have covered movies that have like a Metascore of 0. So every critic thought it was terrible.
But you haven't ever run into a movie where you picked it because you really like it, and then your audience gives you feedback of like, no, that was in fact a bad movie.
No, I mean, I guess I trust my audience in the acceptance that everything that we're going to talk about here is a bad movie, at least in the eyes of the media, because you know, I think looking at a lot of the Dolph Lundgren films that I just covered in the last month, a lot of them seem to be much higher scored amongst audience scores, where it's like they're in the middle range. But then when you look at critic scores, it's all really, really bad. So I think there's just a nice sort of frequency that we operate on where people can accept that it's okay to like things that are of low quality because there are still some redeeming things about it. And those redeeming things are enough to just win you over in the end.
Absolutely agree with you. And there are so many quote unquote bad movies that are just so much fun that I love to revisit, that are entertaining and even make you feel better about your day. And so I love your show and I'm so happy to be back on it again. And like we've said, you and I have had so many discussions over text and Twitter about different movies that we both really love that we want to cover together. So I enjoy and am very grateful to be back here and hope that this actually becomes a more frequent occurrance.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to have you here. You're literally welcome anytime you want. Just tell me the movie. It'll go in the notes. If we do a Pauly Shore month, we could do just you and me, all Pauly Shore for a whole month.
Yeah,
I think we would have plenty to choose from, to be honest.
Yes, because all of his movies are bad, but we love them.
Yeah, there was just something about him in those movies where it's like he's almost always the same character.
Oh, yeah.
He's just charming enough to make it work. And the movies never take themselves so seriously that it hinges on whether or not we're on board with him. Like they're always just goofy enough where you can accept the premise and have fun with it. Biodome, In the Army Now, Son-in-Law, all of those sort of operate in the same range as one another. So even Encino Man, which is probably like the best of them, he's still kind of the same character, but it's, you know, it's buoyed by these other things in the movie that make that one maybe a little bit more well-loved than some of the others.
That's a great distinction, though. Silly movies, because they don't take themselves too seriously, the audience can go along with. And I think that's a perfect description of his films.
And I think that's something in terms of like doing this show that is one of the biggest factors in a film's success is whether or not like the idea is too rigid for it to find the sweet spot where you're allowed to have fun. Because a lot of these like action movies that are from the 80s and 90s, like they have this like weird built-in humor, whether it's like through the one-liners or whether it's through like manufactured sort of buddy cop situations. They are self-aware in that you can't just take this idea and be 100% serious with it, because there are versions of those movies that exist that are very good. And I don't think you can rightfully compete with those. So you have to sort of soften everything just enough. So it's like when you have a movie like Heat, for example, which fantastic crime drama.
Masterpiece.
Cops,
Yeah.
exactly. It's so good. Like, you're not going to make another Heat. You're not going to make a movie that competes with what that is, really. So if you want to make something that's fun, you do like a Last Action Hero, or you do like Showdown in Little Tokyo, where it's just kind of ridiculous in the premise, but the action is serious. So you get a little bit of both worlds, and it's a good, just like popcorn type of experience.
Yes, where instead of with recent movies like Aquaman 2, for example, taking itself way too seriously, so it can't even be a bad movie we love because it doesn't ever think of itself as a bad movie. And it's just too over the top, right?
I think that's a good point. And the idea that you're sort of allowed to have fun as the filmmaker, and not everything has to be so serious, and not everything has to operate in that. I think some of what made maybe the MCU successful that the DC cinematic universe was struggling with was trying to bridge the gap from like taking it seriously to being a comic book movie. And so the MCU found what worked, where it's like we have good enough writing and good enough actors to make the humor land, but overall the tone is fairly serious. It ranges a little bit from movie to movie throughout the franchise, but overall it's skewed towards what would be the case if this happens sort of in reality. Not quite Christopher Nolan's Batman, but like just underneath that. And then you go to like Aquaman, which is like the complete other end of the spectrum, which is like goofy, colorful, underwater. Also, Dolph Lundgren's in that movie. So,
oh yeah, true.
Yeah. And if I've learned anything, is that Dolph Lundgren's in a lot of bad movies. So, as much as I love him and I love those movies, his presence in Aquaman sort of takes it down. Like Patrick Wilson being the character that he is in that movie sort of takes it away from taking it as seriously as Marvel does with their casting. So it's just like operating in these two different ballparks where either you do the one thing and you just have fun, be silly, don't care so much, and that's cool. And the first Aquaman made $1 billion. So I'm like, who am I to say it's bad? Like, I didn't love it, but I mean, look, people liked it. That's fine. And then all the MCU stuff took itself very seriously, went on to do Endgame and that whole trajectory. And that made probably $1 billion. I would say, I didn't look at the numbers recently, but I know it's one of the highest grossing movies ever. So it's not like they failed in what they were doing either. It was just more of like identity crisis for DC, not sort of marrying every movie into the same genre, I guess.
Identity crisis is the perfect description because it's true. You have the DC movies with, Batman versus Superman, like you said, Aquaman, Man of Steel, that is taking itself like it's pure cinema, like it's a Martin Scorsese film. It's gritty, it's serious, it's dark. And then at the flip side of that, the movie itself has very silly villains, a non-believable love story, jokes that don't land. And like you said, it's stuck between these two sides of this coin. And what you get is a bit of a muddled mess, which is why DC hasn't been able to land either their cinematic universe or these cohesive storylines going from movie to movie. And and I agree, MCU has been able to thread that needle. I would say until Endgame, I think that we've got an embarrassment of riches in terms of the amount of material that they're throwing at us now. And I've actually stopped watching MCU produced material now because it's just too much, right? It's too much to keep up with and follow along with. And I got pretty overwhelmed in the end, but I do think MCU did find their identity very early on. I think it really started with the casting of Robert Downey Jr., right? Yeah. Phenomenal actor, but can also be that kind of arrogant, silly guy. And it really spoke to audiences.
Yeah, at the time, it was like, Facebook, sort of social media was taking off. So the idea of like a charismatic tech millionaire, billionaire was a little bit more familiar. And it was just easier to just get behind him because he's still a charismatic presence, whether or not he's being a D-bag on screen. And that's a testament to Robert Downey Jr. as an actor. And I just, the MCU got so far ahead that the DCEU was playing catch up. And they're like, we don't know, like, we don't have time to figure out what we actually want to do or be. And we just need to capitalize while we can.
So here's a giant ensemble movie.
Right? And so they just like were just throwing stuff at the wall, hoping something would stick, and some of it did. But in terms of like a cohesive universe, they never quite managed it, which is crazy because all of their animated stuff that Warner Brothers produces, that's just animated like Superman, Batman movies, all that stuff is good. It's all good. It's way better.
Batman Mask of the Phantasm is one of the best, if not the best, Batman movie ever made.
Yeah, I got a friend in the film club who absolutely loves that movie. And he submitted it, I think, for Superhero Month and maybe for our Animation Month. So
awesome,
yeah,
as he should.
I know I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but coming off the heels of the animated show was obviously big deal at the time.
It was, and I actually picked it for our first Batman themed episode over a year ago. And it was really fun diving into the background of that and talking about Kevin Conroy as a voice actor and then Mark Hamill as the Joker. Oh, it's a phenomenal movie. I hope you guys cover it at some point.
Yeah, it's not going to be on this show. It's too good of a movie to be on.
No,
no,
but in your film club for sure. Yeah. You can cover Batman and Robin on this show.
Oh, I have.
Yeah, exactly.
I couldn't not let that one happen because
absolutely not.
It was during Schwartz-Timber when we were covering a bunch of Schwarzenegger movies. So I was like, "There's no way we're not doing Mr. Freeze," and that was a ton of fun. But we're here today to sort of bridge the gap. It was Dolph Lundgren month. It is no longer Dolph Lundgren month. It's Dystopian December here at Bad Movies We Love. And I want to let you do the honors of introducing the movie. What are we talking about today?
Oh, it is my great pleasure to introduce a classic bad movie from 1995, giving Dina Meyer her very first ever film credit, starring the very talented, not that really, Keanu Reeves.
Aw.
Love the guy to death, but when we want to talk about range with actors, he's not necessarily the first person you ever think of, right? Yeah. But this is a neo-noir tech thriller from 1995, predicting the future all the way out to 2021 in our dystopian future that thankfully never came to pass. This is Johnny Mnemonic.
Well, you mentioned that it's a noir or neo-noir, and as I was watching it, like I put down that question. I was like, I'm going to ask you this, so I'm glad that you covered that already. But you say that it didn't come to pass. The opening scroll for this movie says corporations rule. There's a new uncurable virus. And we've got brain implants. I was like, this movie's surprisingly accurate in their depiction of 2021.
That's a fair point, actually.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised. I didn't remember the opening scroll. I haven't seen this in a long, long time. I had seen it a few times when it was on doing the cable circuit, probably in like 96 or 97. But this is a movie directed by Robert Longo, written by William Gibson, kind of. Based at least on the book by William Gibson, and maybe there was a screenplay at one point that Gibson wrote with Longo, but that is debatable as to whether or not that was the working script for the movie. But stars Keanu Reeves, as you mentioned, Dina Meyer, as you mentioned, Takeshi Kitano as well, fantastic Japanese actor, Ice-T,
yes,
Henry Rollins, and drumroll please, the man himself, Dolph Lundgren. He's still here. Dolph Lundgren month is over, but he's still here, and he's bringing the gospel with him in this movie as street preacher.
Oh, God, as robot street preacher.
That's right. He's jacked up on cybernetic enhancements, and even the sort of the perversion of weaponizing the church by the Yakuza is an interesting angle on this. I mean, there's a lot going on in this movie. There's like a ton going on in this movie, and it maybe bites off more than it can chew because it's based on a novel, and like reading about the production and stuff, I don't know that this movie was ever going to sort of find its ideal sweet spot, because as soon as it became a studio project, things changed drastically from what this could have been and maybe should have been. But I'm going to take a moment here. We're going to set the table and talk a little bit about the pre-production and development. Robert Longo, known for his artwork mostly, the Men in Cities series, actually, and music videos that he produced. He collaborated with William Gibson in 1989 to adapt Johnny Mnemonic into a film. Initially envisioned as an art piece film, low budget, targeting about $1.5 million, financing challenges somehow grew it into a $30 million project. Fueled by Sony Pictures amid rising cyberpunk relevance in the 90s. So the studio sought commercial viability, cast Keanu Reeves, and adding market-driven elements like Dolph Lundgren's character for international appeal. And Reeves' Canadian nationality also helped secure tax incentives. So when you get to pre-production, the film deviated significantly from Gibson's short story with new characters and the themes like the nerve attenuation syndrome, which is the fake disease, which was, I guess, reflecting societal issues. There were some plot elements such as Dolphin's heroin addict were cut during editing because can't have Jones doing heroin. Studio demands and compromises often clashed with Longo and Gibson's original artistic vision, such as forcing Lundgren's character and altering scenes to avoid controversy. So this movie seems to not ever have gotten to be the movie that the makers wanted it to be. And a lot of the time, studio interference sort of trickles down and changes the identity of a movie in smaller, more subtle ways. It seems like this was a lot of studio interference over what the final product was.
I agree, and especially watching this now as a little bit older adult. I used to love this film in the 90s, and it just so happens that the two times I've been on your show, both times I've picked films from 1995. Complete
Indeed.
accidents. Both times I've picked techno thrillers as well. It's also an accident. I do love bad movies outside of that genre, but it is just a happy coincidence. But yes, as an older adult watching this now, it's a muddled mess. It feels like there were 6 versions of this script by 6 completely different writers. And it just can't ever really find its footing. And every time you think you're following along with, okay, these are the main characters and this is the threat that they're fighting, this is the main bad guy, it changes it up and it's like, no, this is actually the bad guy. And oh gosh, if they would have leaned this out a little bit and been able to develop the storyline a little bit, the conflict a little bit better, I think there's a really good movie in there that would have been a little bit more considered a classic than now it's just kind of this silly cult favorite that we love to talk about.
There is a very interesting world that this stuff takes place in, but like you said, there's Pharmacom, which is the big evil pharmaceutical company. Not far off in that prediction either.
No.
Then you've got the Yakuza, who works for Pharmacom as like bodyguards and enforcers. Then within the Yakuza, there's also like the ambitious sub-boss of the Yakuza, who's a bad guy. And then they also outsource their evil to Dolph Lundgren when the Yakuza can't quite get the job done. So there's a lot of villains in play that don't necessarily all add up. And if you're going to go the route of there's sort of an older head of state type character in Takeshi being the top of the Yakuza pyramid, and then his underboss wants to replace him, like the motivations aren't really clear other than it's like they're a gang and that's just what happens in gangs. And then you've got an AI that's also infested some things that can't quite tell if it's a good guy or bad guy, but it seems to get on the internet and talk directly to people. And this turns out to be the brain of the founder of Pharmacom that is slowly getting whittled out of existence. So you just have so much going on. It's very hard to just focus on what's going on with Johnny because he's got a lot going on himself. He's got a brain implant. They're trying to explain to us that it's wet wired. They say wet wired a lot in the first third of this movie. And I was like, what does that mean? It's just attached to flesh? Like, what is hardwired versus wet wired? Why is it not dry wired? I'm like, can't ask too many questions. He's got a brain implant. That's all I need to know, right?
And it's 1995, so we really don't know what any of these terms mean, right?
No. Nope.
And there's even a backstory where the AI woman in the computer in Pharmacon actually was supposed to be Johnny's mom, right? And so there's that whole backstory too that didn't even get played out. And yeah, this isn't the first time this has happened. It's certainly not the last time it's happened where a studio interferes with a movie production to a point where it becomes a mess. It becomes worse than it could have been if they would have just stood back. I mean, classic example, Alien 3. That could have been a great movie. I want to see the Fincher cut, right?
Yeah.
Suicide Squad, the David Ayer Suicide Squad, who talks about all the time that his edit is far superior. Batman Forever is there. I mean, there's so many movies that had this. Kingdom of Heaven by Ridley Scott. The director's cut is a great movie, right? The theatrical cut is awful. And this happens all the time, unfortunately. And Johnny Mnemonic is a victim of that.
Unfortunately, it's messy. But fortunately for me, I kind of enjoy the mess in this movie. Like the world itself is so chaotic that all of the minutia and the mess doesn't bother me that much in this movie. If it were like, say, a very, very dialed in neo-noir tech thriller where it's like just Johnny running from the Yakuza and Pharmacom's in the background as the bad guy, and it's like, so we kind of have an understanding that this is how the world works, this is what he's doing, and you're just going like point A to point B, like that's fine. And then it's like, okay, well, like now you add in the chess piece of Dolph Lundgren as like a Jesus wannabe who's also jacked up on like robot steroids, and then okay, Ice-T is here as well. What's happening here? Okay, Yakuza guy got a thumbnail like laser garrote, which is very cool to watch, but also like he's got the only one. Okay, that's weird enough. And then there's the leader of the Underground's a dolphin. Well, maybe not the leader, but he's like their computer whiz is a dolphin. And so you have to have an entire set where there's a dolphin in the case. And he's got cybernetic enhancements too. And it's just like, this is a lot to digest, where like if this were a video game, I feel like it would all just feel a lot more at home because there would be so much more room to grow the surrounding world, where like they're like living in a pile of trash and they're just like making computers out of stuff that was thrown away. So there's just like, they're asking you to suspend your disbelief like a lot when there's already enough going on in the beginning to just say that he's got a brain implant that's about to explode. Here, I have X amount of storage. No, you don't. We're just going to overload that. I'm like, I don't think that's how it works.
No,
like,
I can
now
tell
that we
you
have hard drives, that's definitely not how it works.
I can't just overload my hard drive by putting more stuff on it and slamming it in there. If it doesn't have enough storage space, that's the end of the conversation, actually. Yep. But this being in the early 90s as well, it's even harder for the audience to keep up with all of the different plot lines, so all these different characters and all of this new terminology, because it's stuff that we never encountered before in 95, right? Whereas if this was a movie, actually, if this was a series made by HBO that's a dystopian techno thriller series, I think it could be great, especially because nowadays everybody's really familiar with technology. They could theorize how the world ended or how it's now dystopian, and all of these terms they use with wet wired or the implant, or I think it's hilarious that it's 320 gigabytes in his head, which is so big back then. And
I can get that on a flash drive now.
Exactly. Which is hilarious. So there's opportunity there. I think William Gibson is a great writer and his books are really good. And I think it was just the wrong medium, the wrong time, especially, and like we've said, studio interference from people who had no idea about anything about this genre.
Yeah, and Gibson was a huge influence on Hackers as a movie as well. And
yes.
I mean, he's got the computer system named after him. They pulled a lot from his book Neuromancer at the time. So not completely unsurprising that these two movies are kind of related that we've covered on the show here. But you know, just the way that Johnny talks about his like lack of a past and the idea that in the world that he's currently living in, he had to sacrifice like this chunk of his long-term memory. So he's like, I lost my whole childhood to be able to be a courier so that I have a job in this world. But then there's this desperation of him wanting to remember and wanting to get it back, despite telling Dina Meyer in the movie, like, my childhood sucked. It's okay that I don't have it. So, like, just that alone is enough to sort of push some other things to the side. And, like, let's focus on how the world has sort of forced this to happen, where sort of data transferring and like piracy and stuff has become so popular that someone is going to like remove a chunk of their brain in order to do this. I found that to be like an interesting concept in a very like messy environment where there was no room to really talk about it.
I do like the idea of physical transport of data across international lines in order to give it from one party to another because of the overt hacking that happens all over the world. And I thought that was very clever and quite original. And I think even now that we're seeing all this identity theft and data leaks left, right, and center, I mean, how often, multiple times a month now, we're getting notices through our email and on the news saying, oh, we've had another data breach, right? There's ransomware being because of a hacking issue. And so that idea, I think, is very relevant even to this day. But like you said, the execution falls flat a little bit, especially because my understanding, even watching it this time for this week's episode, my understanding of what they were talking about is they dumped a big chunk of his memory and his handlers held on to it. And they removed that memory in order to fill up space in his head with this storage, wet-wired hardware, as you say, right? And so now when he's trying to get all of this information out of his brain, how are those memories going to come back if he doesn't go back to the source, right? I thought they took those memories out, not just hid them in a back corner.
We just got a chunk of brain floating in this jar over here. We'll give it back.
And so I thought that was a little bit messy too, because it changes, or at least the reality that's happening and how he's going to get his memory back, I think, please correct me if I'm wrong, changes from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie.
He seems to think that he can just get it back, right? And I don't know if it's a download or like, did he only sacrifice his 60 gigabytes of childhood memory or whatever it was?
Is there
so they're just
like
going to replace it?
A blocker in there, and that's what they're trying to unlock? Because I thought it was physically removed from his brain. Maybe not like a chunk of brain being removed, but like offloaded from his brain, I guess is a better way to put it, that the memories were taken out of his brain where he couldn't access it again until they were downloaded back into his brain.
Well, treating the brain as if it's a hard drive is a very interesting concept. It's like, look, maybe that is how it works, but you didn't really like get us across the finish line with any explanation. It's just like memory equals memory. Duh. Like, and we're just going to put a hard drive in your head. Like, don't worry about it. But I like when he first shows up and he's like doubling his memory in the elevator, which I don't know that you can just like plug in some extra memory. Like, you need more physical hardware or hard drive space. So I don't know that works. But then he gets there and they tell him like, this is more than you have capacity for. And he's just like, okay, goodbye brain, and download it, because he really needs that money so that he can have the surgery to get his memory back. Like, he seems like he just could have avoided this whole issue, but it's the classic, like, just one more job and then I'm out kind of story. So it's not entirely unfamiliar in that way.
And it's such a messy movie that the title card itself is very, very long.
Yes.
There are a lot of things to read about at the beginning of this movie.
Yeah, I was like, this is going on for a while, but okay. So corporations, bad. What is it? What is the disease? NAS?
NAS, yeah.
Yeah, some neurovirus that just gives you the shakes. So lots and lots of stuff going on. But do you want to take a stab at the synopsis haiku and do the honors?
I would love to. I think this is such a great new aspect of your show since the last time I've been here, because the first time I was a guest, I just summarized the plot of Hackers. And so being able or being asked to summarize it in haiku form, I think is really, really fun and also kind of fitting because, the Yakuza is in this movie. So there are Japanese overtures within the entire film and storyline. So it kind of fits.
This is the third movie in like 5 movies I've covered that has the Yakuza involved for some reason. Something about the 90s was like, the Yakuza is going to be a big problem for us in the future.
So you're also doing a secret Yakuza theme on your podcast, is what you're saying.
Exactly. They've taken me hostage and they're like, look, you're going to be covering Yakuza films, whether you like it or not.
I mean, as long as they pay you, it's fine.
Just don't cut off my fingers.
No, let's not have that happen. Okay, so here is the Johnny Mnemonic haiku plot summary. Smuggle the data. Fight back against Big Pharma. Dolph is Robot Christ.
He is. Man, he shows up at the end and he's just like, it's Jesus time.
Okay, wait. Before we talk about Dolph, though, how was the haiku? Was it acceptable?
Yeah, it was very good.
Oh,
I think it's probably better than mine. But I'll still do mine because I wrote one.
Oh, yes, please.
The Johnny's got the goods, the value unknown to him, his mind may not hold.
Ooh, I like it. More of a Johnny-specific plot summary than an overarching theme. It's good.
Just specific to just Johnny.
Just John. Well, that's his name. And now we can talk. Since you mentioned Dolph, and we can talk about him because, like you said, you just came off the theme of Dolph. I want to talk about the fact that this is the first movie I've ever seen him in where he doesn't have an accent. He crushed the American voice so well in this film. I was very impressed.
This is going to sound crazy, but this is one of Dolph's better performances overall.
Oh, totally agree with you. He was terrifying when I watched this movie as an 11-year-old.
He needed to be in this movie a lot more. And at least one thing that I've learned from this will be the 8th Dolph Lundgren movie that I've covered on the show.
Okay. Claim to fame.
four for Dolph month, 1 for this month, and then 3 priors. But all of his best roles are when he's the villain, because I think there's no pressure on him to have to do a lot of like the typical hero stuff. And when he's asked to do that stuff, it's essentially just lining him up as every other action star of the 80s and 90s, with the one-liners, with the fighting, with like being in good shape. Like all that stuff is whatever. Like in this, he doesn't really ever take his shirt off. I mean, he's wearing like a robe at one point, so like you can see that he's like muscular, but there's no focus on his physique. He's wearing this huge wig and beard, so you're not really like focused on what he looks like. It's all just about like the line delivery and him being psychotic. And I think him in this and Universal Soldier and Rocky IV, like all of those are just different ways for him to sort of be minimalist, but also maximize what the character is because of not having to be the leading man in those situations.
I totally agree with you. He's incredibly menacing and threatening in this film, and he makes a great villain because he has that air about him. He's huge, right?
Yeah.
And he can be really imposing quite easily. And just because he has that energy about him, you're scared the moment he comes on screen. You are worried about what he plans on doing, how unhinged he is. I think he is a better actor than most people give him credit for.
Absolutely.
And makes a great villain, especially in this film. And yeah, this whole costume is just great.
Well, he got second billing in this movie, but I would say like in terms of character hierarchy, he's like maybe the 5th or 6th most important character in the movie. So obviously like getting him to sign on to this project was a big get for them. But like he's probably like less important than Spider or Takahashi or Shinji or J-Bone or Jane, or even the AI for that matter. Like he just happens to be this like scary muscle. And honestly, if you were to take just that element of the movie with like Dolph Lundgren as a psychotic, cyber enhanced, messianic menace and have him be like the villain in a horror movie as that character, I would watch the shit out of that.
Oh, yes. When he is completely fanatic about his belief system and is unreasonable, I think he would be very frightening.
Yeah,
I think
he's
that's
just crucifying people in this
yeah,
movie.
That's a great idea. Oh God, Horror Christ, sign me up. That would be a great movie, actually.
Dolph, if you're not busy.
Right. And I always love that whenever I talk about Dolph, that we get to talk about the fact that he's brilliant in real life and has a PhD, and he just decided that because of the way he looked and because he had an opportunity to do so, he got into acting, and now he loves doing it. But it's like Brian May from Queen, right? And he's an astrophysicist.
Right.
It's just so cool when these people have like extra superpowers beyond just being super successful and famous, right?
Yeah. It's like, I have a master's degree in chemical engineering, got accepted on a scholarship to MIT, and just said, I'd rather make 80s and 90s action flicks. Sounds good to me. Let me go kick some guy in the face.
Exactly. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll be part of the Expendables universe.
Right? I know. I feel like he needs a bigger part in those movies, but
yes,
I feel like I stopped. Maybe I didn't see the most recent one.
I stopped at
4 of
2.
them?
At least, yeah, because they brought Mel Gibson in. Harrison Ford came in at one point.
I think it was 1 and 2. Then 3 went PG-13 to try to like maintain the audience and like get more people there. And then on 4, they went back to rated R. But they're also like 15 years older, so it's like just becoming less and less believable every time. But it's like, we get Wesley Snipes, Terry Crews, Dolph, Jet
Bruce
Li,
Willis.
Jean-Claude, Bruce Willis, exactly. Arnold's in that. I know. I sort of wish that these guys would have worked together more during their prime rather than be maybe so directly competitive, because it would have been great to see like Arnold play opposite Dolph in a villain role back when they were in the 80s and 90s. That would have been great, but time waits for no one.
All of them getting together in an MCU style climactic battle against some major force that everybody has to be friends in order to fight. That would have been amazing in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. And as much as I love like Jesse Ventura and the Running Man and like the just eccentricities of that character, it's like you should have strung Dolph along and brought him with you on a lot of these projects as well as Jesse, because Dolph's career longevity was much, much better.
I agree. And talking about when you mentioned and listed all of the characters in this movie, Spider, J-Bone, Dolph's character, etc., every single one of them I have a soft spot for, and they all have some value in their own right to the story, which again makes me think that there's a lot of meat here, and it was just too much for a 90-minute movie.
Yeah, for sure.
This, I'm sure, could have been a really great serialized series, a book, a graphic novel series, something where there's a little bit more room to breathe and introduce these characters, have more character arc and growth, and build those connections between everyone. So we understand like just the backstory of Robot Jesus, right? That would have been a great start. Understanding why and the Yakuza even knows him, and also why now the low-tech group understands who he is and that they need to avoid him when they're scanning the streets and they see him walking and they're like, oh no, he must have another contract. It's like, how do you even know any of this?
Street preachers out. Want to steer clear of that psycho. But yeah, like the world has so much texture to it, but we're moving way too fast to observe most of the texture. So it's like, yeah, we get some production design elements where it's like obviously a lot of work went into designing like the low-tech headquarters and stuff like that, but so much of the smaller layers, throughout the movie, I think could have been better. And it's like, I don't want to say this movie should be 2 hours plus, but I feel like you could have had maybe a potentially better movie at that length. Just like you said, giving things room to breathe.
Yes, and there are even other characters that we haven't even talked about yet that are good in and of themselves. Ralphie, Johnny's boss,
Udo Kier,
hilarious. I love Udo. He was great in Blade. I always remember him from Blade. And there are all these little bit parts that I think everybody delivered in this movie in terms of what they were given and how this movie was edited. It doesn't have to, this movie isn't bad because of performance, even by Keanu Reeves. Everybody does a pretty good job in this film, and Ice-T, he's very believable. His tattoos are awesome, by the way. The line across his face makes him look so badass. I love that dread wig that he's wearing as well. But nobody really falls flat in this movie. It strictly comes down to the story and the plot, and at one point they even throw in, like at the very, very tail end of this movie, Keanu Reeves and Dina Meyer's character, Jade, to show some affection towards each other. And watching this movie a couple days ago for the podcast, I was like, oh yes, because of course they also had to throw in that there's this romantic plot line, even though it's never been mentioned and they hated each other the whole movie. But at the very end, yeah, let's have them kiss and be like, oh yeah, they're going to live happily ever after too. And it's like, where'd this even come from? They're just throwing more things on the pile, right?
It's in the contract. They have to kiss before the movie's over.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, we're going to get to the trailer in a second, but why do you think someone would say that this is, in fact, a bad movie?
Because of everything we've talked about, right? I think that there was just, it's funny because the last time I was here, we just sung the praises, and I know you hadn't seen Hackers before, but you ended up really liking it and having a good time watching it. And that movie, there are a lot of cohesive storylines to it. It does come together really well. The performances are great. The costumes are bonkers, right? And in this movie, instead, there are just so many elements that you see that could have made a good film, but the mixing process didn't work. It's like when you're baking a cake and it doesn't rise. You have all the right ingredients. You got organic butter. You got the good chocolate. You threw it all together and you baked it, and instead the cake just sunk and went really flat, and it's hard and inedible. And so you had all the elements there in this movie. It was possible, and it just did not come together in the end, unfortunately. So that's why it's a bad movie. But God, I just love techno thrillers.
Yeah, I said we could do a whole month just on techno thrillers with you.
Uh-huh.
I like the cake analogy, but in that analogy, I would also still be eating the cake.
It all depends on the frosting that you use to cover it up, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, let's take a look at the trailer and we'll see what exactly this movie was trying to sell us on back in 1995.
Before we get to the trailer, it's time for a quick word from today's sponsor. Are you feeling lost? Do you feel like your existence lacks purpose? Have you ever wondered what happens after you die? Well, it might just be time to accept Robot Christ as your personal Lord and Savior. At the Church of Retransfiguration, they've got answers to all those pesky existential questions that can pop up during the holidays. They'll give you guidance and purpose as part of a community that strengthens its bonds by pointing out and reporting any illicit, low-tech behavior. Plus, you can feel safe and secure because each branch of the church comes with a cybernetically enhanced preacher, so you can rest assured that the gospel of Robot Christ is delivered with the proper authority and force that God intended. So what are you waiting for? Accept Robot Christ as your Lord and Savior and join the Church of Retransfiguration today. Use promo code JesusTime to save up to 15% on initial sign-up. And now, back to the show.
Oh, that is not playing yet. Let's go.
I haven't seen this trailer in decades. This is going to be great.
The visuals gave me very much like Lawnmower Man flashbacks.
Hackers, too, when they visualize the internet.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're both 95.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, at least the internet looks cool.
Yeah.
Way cooler than it looks in real life.
Yeah, it's really boring in real life.
But there is a solution. Your storage capacity?
I can carry nearly 80 gigs of data in my head.
Input the data.
I can carry them on this flash drive.
Johnny Mnemonic.
Hit me.
I would be curious to know. They never tell us like what the capacity of the actual human brain is, though.
I had to dump a chunk of long.
Yeah, and why Jones and this big helmet they just happen to have is going to work.
What are you doing?
Yeah, this is for when Jones needs to interact with humans.
I got the goods, Ralphie. Now I just want to get them out of my head.
Now, in a future,
We locked on him.
where those who control the information control the world.
Yeah, okay, I like that.
True.
The mnemonic courier.
Everyone
Yakuza's got
wants what is
some
stored in
grappling
Johnny's
equipment.
head.
Double cheese anchovies.
Gotta have a one-liner comedy
Yep.
bit in trailer.
They were waiting for me, Ralphie.
Time is running out.
I'm a dead man if I don't get this out of my head.
If I can get it out.
How?
The cranial
I
drill.
feel like they
in the
didn't do a
force
great job with
Future's most
like
wanted future.
the sort of the bad side of seepage. It's like, okay, he's gonna die or whatever, but all he's doing is having like sort of headaches.
And some nosebleeds.
Yeah, I want to see like loss of motor function. Maybe he like poops his pants. They're like, no, he's got to get that kiss later. He can't be pooping himself.
No.
Keanu Reeves.
You can't shoot me.
Not in the head.
It's like you bring in like a really famous Japanese actor for that role, and then he like basically doesn't speak. And the one time he does, it's kind of a throwaway joke there. So very, very bizarre in a lot of ways.
And you don't really understand his motivation in the second half of the movie, because once he figures out exactly what's going on, there's no reason why he should have been acting the way he was acting.
Right?
And
he's just so pissed at the AI. He's like, stop telling me all this stuff. I already know.
Yes.
I just don't want to hear it anymore.
Yes. Too much truth. And I think this was the wannabe 90s version of Blade Runner. It's dark. It's a dystopian future.
Yeah,
everybody's chasing over one person. And don't get me wrong, there is zero comparison between the new two movies. I would never ever compare those two and draw the ire of literally every movie fan ever. But I think that's what they were trying to do. I think there was it just sucks when you can see all the elements that were available to them that they could have made a good movie, and it just missed in the end. And I really would love a full-on director's cut of this film. I think it could be really good.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is like some version of that, but I'm not 100% on what that entails. But in 2021, Longo made like a black and white version of the film that is supposedly truer to his actual vision.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know how this movie would work in black and white, because so much of it is like intentionally colorful.
Dark too.
Yeah.
Like, how much contrast are you gonna get? I think you'd have some Game of Thrones experience where you just like turning up the brightness of your TV up to 100 in order to see what the hell's going on.
That's so funny. When my wife was getting caught up on Game of Thrones before like watching the last couple seasons with me, I would walk into the bedroom and I'm like, how are you even seeing anything? Like the screen is pitch black. I'm like, no, we got to get a new TV. This is horrible.
Yes, it definitely was influenced on which TV at whose house you're watching Game of Thrones at in terms of the quality of your experience.
So since we saw there in the trailer too, the way that the internet is portrayed here versus hackers, which one did you like better?
Oh, Hackers 100%, because it tied back to itself better. I really liked that it actually there was more hardware attached to it too in Hackers, where it showed all the computer chips. It was way more organized. Don't get me wrong, that virtual reality scene where he wears he needs an iPhone.
All right.
Which is awesome that he mentioned that in 1995, but it's EYE phone, and so he puts those goggles on his head. That's what he's actually talking about, which I thought was a really cool little piece of trivia, because when I was watching it this time around and he's like, give me an iPhone, I go, what the hell? And so I've turned on the subtitles because I wanted to see if he actually said that, and no, it's EYE, so that makes more sense. But there is a lot of really fun software playing that he does, where he's, grabbing the world and opening it up and tapping on things and searching. And then he, puts his hand over his head to think. And that was, of course, a attempt at a little bit of levity in this moment. Right. And it's fun. I like seeing Johnny that he's also apparently a hacker, even though we never talk about it, which is random too. But because he can dive in and break into anything where he needs some information and data in order to move the plot along, right? But in terms of it's convenient plot device. But in terms of the depiction of the internet, I do prefer Hackers more. And that's true of just about every aspect of these two films. I will prefer Hackers over this one, but it's just so silly and fun. And I think going back to Dolph, I know his name is Street Preacher in the movie, but Robot Jesus is kind of my favorite term right now. And so I think that is just so great. And there's a lot of just totally ridiculous aspects of this film, including a lot of the weapons, like you said. Where Takahashi says, oh, you turned your disability or your defect into a weapon or something that's useful to you. And it's like, but you're never going to mention what that problem was. And there's no backstory to that whatsoever. So, yes, I think there are fun aspects of the depiction of technology in this film, but Hackers does it worlds better.
Yeah, and I'm curious if the reason that the portrayal of the tech in this movie is the way that it is because we get Spider, Henry Rollins' character, telling us later that the NAS virus is caused by the use of technology. So there's like this awareness that at some point in the future, like our dependency and our technology usage will be poisoning us. And I mean, that's sort of true in a literal sense, but also figuratively, if you look at things like social media and sort of like
mental health.
Yeah, like exactly how it programs your mental health to behave. I think that's like a pretty interesting thing to have a doctor focused on in this movie at the time, because I mean, this is 1995. So like AOL is just starting to become like a household thing for a lot of families in America. So we're like right on the cusp of that, the internet being in everybody's house. But the fear of like what that actually means, I think, is something that this movie sort of touches on, isn't able to really like stick the landing on. But I like that the whole sort of underground is these doctors that are fighting against like a technological virus.
Yes, there are, like you said, a lot of accuracies to this movie in terms of its predictions of the future. It's not one to one, but like you said, there's a virus, there is technology that is inhabiting our lives. It's not really good for us. I'm sure there are, and we all know this already, right? There are tons of aspects of technology that are horrible for us. The A waves from your phone and the backlights of your phone and computers, when you watch them and look at them on right before you go to bed, that's horrible for your brain and your sleep schedule, right? It's very detrimental to you. The lithium ion batteries that we all use, the mining for those batteries are an ecological disaster, right? There's so many aspects of technology that is in fact destroying us and our planet. And as Henry Rollins says, but we can't stop. We can't get rid of it. I love his character. It's a very realistic. There's a seriousness to his character that I think is needed in this movie, and he is able to recenter the plot really well because he has some really good exposition that is really, really important, but he delivers it in a way that's very earnest. I love Henry Rollins. I think he is so talented, and I enjoy seeing him anytime he pops up randomly in a movie. This movie, no exception. And I think some of his lines are very poignant to our current times, and so I think his character is really, really important. And one of the things he says, which is true today, and we know it's true in a lot of aspects, is it's more profitable to treat the disease than cure it, right? And this big pharma company holding back the cure and just making tons and tons of money treating this NAS disease is very relevant to our time and is been true for decades, right? And so there are aspects of this film when you dive into it, and I think rewatching it several times and watching it as an adult versus as an 11-year-old helps with that immensely to really pinpoint the good aspects of this film, which is why it's a bad movie I love, right? Because I know I've been trashing it a little bit, but there are a lot of aspects of it that are really good and really fun, and that's why I keep coming back to it.
Yeah, I was actually surprised at how much I enjoyed Rollins in this movie. Like the last thing I saw him in, it was like he was some undead being, not really undead, but like he couldn't die. This was like 5 or 6 years ago too, and that was like, I didn't really love that movie. But I think here, him not having to be the main guy, like you said, it allows him to just come in, add some seriousness, sort of calculate the stakes for us, and be the medium between Johnny and what the end of the film ends up being. So yeah, I really liked him in this. I can see why like he did a lot of acting.
Yeah, he's been around for a while and he's had some great roles. And again, if and I think that if this had been a series and he's one of those supporting characters that has popped up, like, they establish him in the beginning and then 8 episodes later he comes back and there's a cool storyline for like 2 or 3 episodes with him in it, and then season 2 he comes up again. Like, he can be that person that they come back to every once in a while, and then their friends that they make need to come to him too because they're in trouble, or they're fighting some bad guys and they get injured, so they have to come back to Spider for him to outfit them and stitch them up and give them better upgrades, right? Like there's an opportunity there where he could have been just this really solid workhorse of a supporting character in a series, because every single line I believe that he is a doctor. Every single line that he says is believable and does sound like it's coming from someone who knows what they're talking about, and he carries himself very well. And yeah, I think that he's a good addition to the movie, even though there are too many characters within it. I don't know who I would have deleted from this film in order to clean it up more, because all of these characters are a lot of fun.
Yeah, and he actually has one of my favorite lines in the whole movie where he tells Johnny, "Don't be a bigger asshole than you have to be."
Yes.
And I was like, that's just good life advice in general.
Yes.
Like, I think everybody's going to be an asshole at some point, but just like, don't be a bigger asshole than you have to be.
Yeah, and I think one of the more recognizable roles of his that I really love, and it's just a bit part, but like I said, anytime he's on screen makes me happy. He's the leader of the SWAT team in the very beginning of Bad Boys 2 when they're infiltrating that KKK rally, and he's trying to talk to everybody in terms of going in and arresting everyone. So he's been in Heat. Speaking of Heat, he has been in, he was in Heat, which is great, which is a movie I picked for my podcast this year, which was a lot of fun to cover. Oh yeah, the movie is a masterpiece. So yeah, there are a lot. I think a lot of people and a lot of your listeners would recognize Henry Rollins when they saw him.
Yeah, I think so. I would say his screen presence is important in this, because you have Johnny behaving a certain way. Even when he interacts with J-Bone, it's like there's sort of like a passivity there. So you sort of need somebody to like put Johnny in his place, because like obviously Ralphie doesn't do it. So you need some voice of seriousness that's going to communicate like what the problem is and what the stakes are. And Henry does a great job at that. So I was happy to see him. I was happy to look back on that performance and think much higher of it than I did originally. I didn't even remember that he was in it because I haven't seen this movie in 20 something years. So good job, Henry.
But
appreciate
that's
it.
That's a really, really good point about Johnny, is he just kind of stumbles through this movie. He seems to be a very experienced courier, right? He says this is his last job. He just needs a little more money so he can pay for this surgery. So he has supposedly done this many times before, dealt with underground illegal activities, all these sorts of nefarious people. And then throughout this whole movie, he's just kind of stumbling along like a little lost puppy dog, and everybody's trying to help him, and he doesn't know where he's going next. And it's Jade and J-Bone and Henry Rollins Spider who have to keep pushing him in the right direction, and he doesn't know who to talk to or where to turn. He does a couple of hacking scenes, that's true, and I only realized is that once you brought it up about Spider directing him where he needs to go, is that yeah, Johnny is a little bit of a wet rag after things go to hell.
He is, and like he doesn't have the personality where it seems like people would just instinctively want to help him
or follow him. Yeah,
it's more of like enemy of my enemy is my friend sort of situation throughout a lot of it, because when he tells him not to be an asshole, it's because he is an asshole through a lot of it,
and they're just kind of feeling sorry for him, maybe because that's really all they can feel for him, because otherwise he's kind of a prick. I mean, that whole whiny monologue on top of that rock pile right towards the end of the movie is like, I want room service. It's like, bro, who the hell are you privileged little brat? Like, shut up.
I will say that is one of my favorite Keanu Reeves moments on screen, though. That delivery, like him just flipping out. I want room service. I want my shirts laundered like they are. And he like calms down for a second at the Imperial Hotel in Tokyo. But like he's screaming like, I want a $10,000 a night hooker. I'm like, that's a lot of money in 1995 for a hooker. Are they like projecting what $2021 would be?
Yes, dystopian future. There's lots of inflation.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I love that because it's like he's raging out and then he's like calming down. He's just like, I need to get this out of my system because I am a petulant brat and I just need to like yell and scream and complain. And then we can get on with the rest of the story.
And that's the thing, that Keanu Reeves actually is a good actor when he expands on his emotions a bit. His greatest scenes in Speed are when he's so upset when Harry dies and he's flipping out on the bus, right? And the parts that I really love him are when he's not trying to be like slightly emotive and a little angsty and a little emo, right? And it's no, he's bigger. He lets his personality out more. He's expressing himself in the right with more understandable ways. That's when Keanu's really good. I mean, think about when he's really angry in Point Break. That's when he's awesome. The second half of Point Break is when Keanu Reeves shines because he's actually finally pissed off and letting himself go.
Yeah, one of my favorite roles for him too is, I think, The Bad Batch is what it is. He's like, he runs like a weird brothel, like in the middle of a dystopian desert with.
Are they $10,000 a night?
I don't know. He impregnates all of them, is what's happening. So it's a harem, and like he's just sort of like an eccentric cult leader in that movie. But so it's like it's way different than everything else he does, and he's not in it for that long either because it's like that's not the main story. But I do love him in that role because it's like he actually gets to like do comedy again, which he hasn't really gotten to do since Bill and Ted. I mean, they did the new Bill and Ted like a year or two ago, which was fun, but he doesn't really get the opportunity to do any comedic work. I mean, there's like a joke here or there, like in the Matrix series, but for the most part, they ask him to play that like that middle road where it's like you said, like puppy dog, be sympathetic, be the hero.
Non-threatening.
Exactly. So yeah.
Please, if you haven't seen it already, please watch Always Be My Maybe. It's a rom-com. Ali Wong is in it, and Randall Park, they both star in it and wrote it together, actually. Keanu Reeves plays himself in that movie to the like nth degree. It's a caricature of him, but he is absolutely hysterical. He's one of the best parts of the movie, the most memorable parts of the movie. It's Always Be My Maybe. It's a rom-com on Netflix. It's a great rom-com in general, but his cameo in it is legendary. Highly recommend.
I've heard it mentioned and recommended a few times. I still haven't seen it. My wife loves rom-coms though, so I'll tell her that I've got one for us to watch.
Okay.
So thank you for the rec. How do you feel about dipping into some trivia right now?
Sounds good.
Time for trivia.
All right. Well, since the last time you were here, the trivia actually counts for something. So based on the amount of answers you get correct, those will give you spins on the bonus wheel where we get into some fun hypothetical questions that sometimes involve food or music or other stupid things, but it's fun. So
a lot of pressure.
Not too much. Okay. So question number 1, which Batman actor was originally set to star in the lead as Johnny?
That would have to be, because of the time frame, Val Kilmer.
Correct.
Yes.
It was indeed Val Kilmer. And then they offered him Batman and he said, I'm not doing Johnny Mnemonic anymore.
Smart man.
Yeah, I think it worked out for everybody in that way. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, kind of was in the intro read that I did for this, but the budget ended up being $30 million on a $1.5 million original ask. So funny, the director, they asked him, like, we couldn't get $1.5 million. They just wanted to give us more money to make this movie because of the tech thriller aspect of it at the time. So they never really got the financing for the movie that they actually wanted to make. Since I spoiled that beforehand, I'll give that to you as a bonus. So we got you a 2 already. We're going to jump. Okay. We'll jump down to question 3, and then I'll pull one from the bonus trivia. Okay. So while the film takes place mostly in Newark, New Jersey, the film was actually shot on location where?
Well, you said that there were tax breaks because Keanu is Canadian. So I'm going to guess it was filmed in Canada.
It was.
And given that it was filmed in Canada and they have a lot of cityscapes. So I would guess it was filmed in like Toronto or Montreal.
was filmed in Toronto and Montreal.
There we go. All
I'll
right.
give you 2 on that one. Well done.
Well,
okay.
I mean, where else in Canada are you going to film?
Exactly. I know a lot of stuff films in like Vancouver now for TV shows. But, this was the 90s. Needed cityscapes.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. I will make a trivia question out of something else that I have lying around. Okay. So Jones, the dolphin, didn't know this at the time, is a real dolphin.
What?
And would go on to star in Munch Bunch yogurt commercials in what country?
Oh my god! I thought you were gonna say you went on to star in like Sequest DSV, or it was like the same.
You would
dolphin
think
from
so.
That sci-fi series. You know what? I'm gonna stick with what I know and just guess Canada.
This was the UK. So,
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I if you would have just told me that was a real dolphin, I would not have believed you.
I wouldn't either. I know.
That
it does
poor
not
dolphin too.
Oh, that tank is disgusting.
Oh, it is. And I don't know, like, is there like dolphin rights for how long like you're going to be on set for that? I mean,
I hope so.
You could have made an animatronic dolphin. Maybe it was like a little bit of like some column A, some column B. We got
I
real
wonder
dolphin here, fake dolphin here.
Yeah, I wonder if the wide shots are a fake dolphin, and then just the very close-ups of Jones when he's opening his mouth and he's got a couple of those gizmos on it, but you can only see his mouth and his eye. I wonder if that's the only close-up that is a real dolphin, and I'm hoping everything else is fake in that tiny little tank, because there's a good chunk of the movie that takes place there.
There is, I know. That's what I was thinking just now. Is like, what did you do with that? Like, you just like lowered the dolphin into the tank, and now we're gonna shoot for like all day while he swims in a stationary position.
It's 95, so ASPCA was absolutely on set there. I don't think they would have allowed that. So I'm going to guess and hope that wasn't a real dolphin in there.
Well, I think right before that, Johnny asks, "Who's Jones?" And I love that Dina Meyer trying to act like he's not a dolphin. Like, if I tell him he's a dolphin, he's going to leave. So he was in the Navy, and I can see like the hesitation in her delivery. So I'm like, okay, she's aware that he's a dolphin at that point, but Johnny's not allowed to know. So, I mean, probably one of my favorite memories from this movie, just like if I looked at it before rewatching, I'd have been like, yeah, Dolph Lundgren is Robo Jesus. There's a dolphin in charge of like the underground revolution. Ice-T's in it, and there's a laser garrote, and that's kind of the things that I mostly remember. And there's obviously a lot more going on than that, but those things stand out.
Too much. Too much going on, more than that.
Right.
And you say that Johnny's going to leave. It's so funny because you're talking about Dina Meyer saying that she has to lie about Jones or else Johnny's going to leave. And other than him not paying her, who cares if he leaves, right? He sucks and he's just such a weight with everyone. So it's like, no, stop, come back. It's okay if he left.
I don't think he ever pays her either. He's like, well,
no, because they kiss.
What about a kiss?
Yeah, so that's enough.
It's not worth 50 grand. Not
no, absolutely not.
Okay. Let's see. You got 1, 2, 3. We'll give you 4. All right. I think there's 8 things on the wheel that we can spin. So
okay,
we'll give it a whirl here. What are you gonna get first? Okay. Ooh, this is a fun one. If you could swap out one actor from this film, who would you choose and why?
I would swap out Keanu Reeves, actually.
Sorry, Johnny.
Yes, and instead, who would I put instead? It's 95. Why don't we put somebody like Johnny Depp in there?
Ooh. And he's too good for this movie, probably at 95.
Right, it's true. I know, it's someone with more range. I mean, let's throw in Robert Downey Jr. in there for fun, given the age range, right?
Yeah,
and
he'd
have
be good,
him,
actually.
Yeah, let's have him be someone a lot more likable that we actually care whether or not he gets his memory back.
Yeah. Johnny Depp would take this movie now, probably.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe not in 95. Robert Downey
Probably
Jr., on the other hand, would probably have taken it given the opportunity in 95. All right, that's a good one. We'll spin it again. We'll see what else we got. That's one down. The wheel actually has to spin, which is why I think
That's really fun. I love it.
we'll put in
I haven't
the
done this
sound effects
before,
later,
so.
and it goes woo. Okay, so if you had to pitch this movie to a first-time watcher, how do you sell it to them?
Oh man, I'll just use my haiku. Dolph is robot Jesus.
Right? They'll be disappointed when they get there. They'll be like, "Where's Dolph?"
Yeah.
He shows up eventually. Yay!
Yay! No, I think I would say that it's a B-movie tech thriller that is a dystopian movie. If you want to see something ridiculous, and let's drink before we do it.
Yeah. I'm on board. All right, let's spin it again. It's two down. Oh, okay. There we go. If you could ask one character from the film a question, who's the character and what's the question?
So I would ask Takahashi if I could invest in his company and what year it went public.
Making a business decision. I like it. Pharmacom. Dirty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ooh, this is a new one. It's one of my favorites too. It's newer on the wheel. What snack would you pair with this movie?
Ooh, it's got to be something like corn nuts or something that's a little bit dirty. It can't just be straight popcorn. That's too clean. Yeah. It's got to be something like jerky or something that you have to drink water with or have a drink with, because this movie is very gritty, and so the snack should reflect that.
Like roadside beef jerky.
Oh God, yeah, like the Love's gas station brand beef jerky, like bottom of the barrel stuff.
I like it. Okay. Well, that completes the wheel. That was fun.
Awesome. That was so fun. Thank you.
Got some fun questions out of that one. Is there something in the movie that you really wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about yet?
Yes, let's talk about the fact that in the beginning of this movie, it seems like all of the Asian characters are dubbed.
Right?
We completely glossed over the first 20 minutes of this movie in that hotel room. That it seemed like every single actor was dubbed.
Yeah, and then right after that, or like right before that, when Takahashi is talking to Shinji, the underling, there's a whole bunch of dialogue in Japanese that isn't subtitled either. So yeah. I was like, am I missing this? So I went back on, I put on subtitles. It just said speaking Japanese.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, I get that they're speaking Japanese, but like, shouldn't the audience know what they're talking about if it's going to go on for 2 minutes?
Isn't this exposition important at the very beginning of this movie?
Nope. Just, you got to realize that there's like a little bit of tension in that room and you're not sure why. And then we find out later that the AI lady says Shinji wants to kill you. And he just like backhand slaps her AI face.
But he also has to pretend to be a white man in order to talk to Johnny for some reason, even though Johnny doesn't recognize Takahashi in the end. I guess because he is Asian, Johnny will make the connection that he's part of the Yakuza, I guess, and that's why he's got to pretend to be white. I don't know, but that whole part of it was weird too.
And he doesn't. Johnny's still so dumb that he sees him and he goes, Pharmacom?
Yeah.
Like Yakuza. He has a sword with him, Johnny.
Like I said, he's the actor I would have swapped out.
The sword is for cutting your head off,
yes.
Which, yes, Pharmacom wants to do, but they've hired the Yakuza to do so.
But also, he has something to do with Pharmacon because the CEO keeps messaging him about it. And so that's the thing. It's such a muddled mess that for the longest time, I thought he was the CEO of Pharmacon.
Yeah. I mean, he may, I guess, have technically been like acting in that capacity because they've been diminishing the AI woman over the years. They're trying to erode my programming.
Yeah.
You know, so who knows? Like, we needed some help with that. But again, like, why hire a very famous, good Japanese actor to come into the movie and like just not speak really. And I mean, I like the way he sort of sock puppets the digital white guy's face. He's got his little hand in the hologram. Like that's cool. But yeah, I think he was wasted because he's too good of an actor to be relegated to just that. So if it were me, maybe I'd replace him, but that's
totally agree. No, I agree with you.
I want to ask you something because of things that I noticed. So this movie has sort of like brain implants, like digital downloaded learning. Johnny, when we first meet him, tells everybody his name is Mr. Smith. And The Matrix is a few years after that. Did the Wachowskis watch this movie?
100%.
100%.
Without a doubt.
You.
I would bet a not insignificant amount of money that the Wachowski sisters had watched this movie before creating The Matrix.
I would hope so, because I was like, there's too many little things there that line up. So I'm glad that I'm not the only one that thought that. I also looked at Johnny and I was like, what did he do to his sideburns? Like, is there some reason
they're gone.
They're gone.
Oh yeah.
No sideburns in the future, my man. None for you, Johnny. They're going to interfere with your memory. He does have a very good flat top, in fairness.
He does. Yeah.
And I guess the only other thing is like, I'm not against Dina Meyer being topless in this movie. I just don't understand why she is. She goes to Spider because she has like the shakes from all the implants he did. And then he puts a bunch of like things on her head to make sure that she's okay. But he's also removed her top at that point. And I mean, she's topless in Starship Troopers. I'm sure she's topless in some other stuff she did. I don't think it's like this huge thing. I was like, why did he take her clothes off?
Excuse me, sir. He's a doctor.
Well,
it's professional work. I have no idea. I mean, she's under that drape, so I was just assuming he was running more tests, and maybe there were more things attached in different parts of her body than just her head. And so it's just this like very typical doctor scene and patient scene where of course you need to be like that. But yeah, I mean, if she was a guy, would they have taken her top off in that scene? That's the great question. But I will say, yes, we have seen Dina Meyer topless, and like you said, it was in Starship Troopers. My co-host John, who also worked in the film industry, he worked on NCIS LA for quite a few years, and Dina Meyer was a guest on that show for several episodes. So he got a chance to talk to her and just gush over how much, we both really are big fans of her. And he's like, oh yeah, and of course I loved you in Starship Troopers. And Dina goes, oh, so you've seen my tits then?
She's like, I bet you did.
Yeah, she's like so chill. She knows that that's a big thing for a lot of guys from our generation, and a big turning point. And of course, everybody picked Desi over Denise Richards' character because
have to.
Yeah, Desi was way cooler. But yeah, she's really cool, really easygoing. Absolute pleasure to work with. I think that's really cool that this just so happens to be her very first ever film credit. That was not intentional when I picked this film, but yeah, I mean, I think that she's great, and she plays a dominatrix who owns a dungeon in the show Castle, and she's fantastic in that episode. Yeah,
sounds like a lot of fun. But I will say, Spider didn't take off Johnny's pants or his shirt or any of his clothes when he was scanning his head.
Yeah, so. Fair argument. I think that it was a little bit exploitive that he took her top off.
And then she's just like running around in chainmail the whole time too. So very sheer,
yeah, that costume's great. And she randomly has like knee pads in the beginning of this film, but because it's part of that like cool dystopian techno costuming. I mean, the costuming in this film is great too. I mean, look at all of the low-tech guys.
Yeah, I mean, they put a lot of work into how like the whole low-tech community looked, how the environment looked. Reminded me sort of like Waterworld too, which is another 95 movie where it's like, how do we make people look cool wearing trash? And
yes,
like, this is how you do it.
Cool but poor and dirty.
Right. I started looking at like other movies too where I'm like, in order to communicate that someone's poor, you're gonna just put dirt on their face. Like this is, it's like we don't have time to wash our face, we're so poor. And so like that got communicated. It was in a new movie too where I was watching
but your teeth are perfect,
right? Teeth clean, face dirty the whole time. All right, well, since we talked about some other movies at this point now,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to get into our gateway drug movie of choice. So,
this is new.
New-ish, yeah. I used to do it slightly differently, but for somebody who has not seen Johnny Mnemonic, and you want to try to convince them to see Johnny Mnemonic, what is a good movie that is a jumping off point to get them from point A to point C, I guess?
The Matrix.
Yeah.
There are a couple actually, and I apologize if I'm not answering this question in the right way, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I think there's a circle of films that you can watch them in any order, but they're in the same general feeling. So if you like one of these films, you would probably like Johnny Mnemonic. And am I interpreting your question kind of the right way?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's another kind of futuristic thriller, at least in terms of the science of it. It's more reality based in terms of our reality, but the science of it is a little more futuristic. It also stars Keanu Reeves. It's called Chain Reaction.
Ooh, the bomb movie, yeah.
Yeah, it has not only does it has Rachel Weisz in it, but it also has Morgan Freeman in it. That's a really fun movie. If you enjoyed that film, you'd probably like Johnny Mnemonic. Hackers, of course.
Yeah.
The Net, which is probably the next movie I should come and talk about on this show.
Sandra, yeah.
Apparently I'm doing techno thrillers from 95 and that's my niche. So The Net with Sandra Bullock is good. Free Jack is one of my all-time favorite guilty pleasure sci-fi movies. I think the future they depict is super similar to Johnny Mnemonic. That is even more underrated though than Johnny, I think. Free Jack, I don't know many people who have ever seen that film. It has Emilio Estevez and Anthony Hopkins and Mick Jagger in it. It's awesome. I've loved it since I was a little kid. And yeah, like I said, I mean, I was semi joking. The Matrix movies, of course, are much better. Even though the most recent one, the fourth movie, is, I would argue, not as good as Johnny Mnemonic. Just because it was complete fan service and useless and it wasn't worth watching.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it for a couple of very specific reasons, but also as a movie that was like, we're going to make this movie with or without you attached to it. So
yeah, I think
let's just come back and make a fan service movie and get paid for it then. And that's exactly what they did.
And as a fan, I mean, I've been a fan since the very beginning of the Matrix movies. And so I appreciated the fan service aspect of it, similar to Spider-Man No Way Home or Deadpool and Wolverine, where because I've been a fan for so many years, I got every single reference, every single cameo was just a song in my heart, right? Mm-hmm. And so I appreciate that. But as an outsider, like as a film, like if we were being film critics, it's, you know, the last Matrix movie is not a good movie, right? Jonathan Groff is great in it too, and so is every other actor. But yeah, it's a pure fan service movie. But those, you know, don't want to sneeze and look down upon those either, because they have their place in your library.
They do, and I would say, like, why not have, like, you're going to go through all this and not give me Lawrence Fishburne and Hugo Weaving in some capacity?
What the hell was that about? I'm sad.
Not anti Yaya, not anti Jonathan Groff, but still give me, if you're gonna give me fan service, like actually give me fan service.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like that movie actually did a better job for Neo and Trinity than the entire trilogy beforehand. I felt like this movie actually like investigated their relationship in a meaningful way where the other ones sort of didn't. Like,
agreed. Yeah,
he's the lead, she's the love interest. It just sort of happens. And then in this, like, I felt like, especially for the actors too, to be able to come back together, to have Keanu and Carrie-Anne Moss like actually come back together, and like it felt better in that way. So if you maybe sort of dumb everything down and make it like a romance that's happening inside the Matrix with just those two characters, knowing all the previous knowledge, make the focus more narrow. Just make it them rather than being like, oh, it has to be like a huge Matrix project as well. And so, you know, it is what it is. It happened to exist, and I saw it, and I didn't hate it. I remember being shamed for even acknowledging that I liked anything about it. They were like,
No.
you can't pretend to like that movie. I was like, why not? I actually enjoyed it just fine. I was like, I'm not in love with it or anything, but I never feel like I waste my time when I go to movies. Very, very rarely.
Very rarely. I agree with you. I mean, we love movies too much to ever feel like we've really wasted our time unless it's a purely atrocious movie. But I agree with you. I mean, I was snowed in last Christmas when the newest Matrix movie came out. I rewatched the entire series in anticipation for that movie. And so, yeah, I was home at Christmas, snowed in. I couldn't be with my family. I ordered Chinese food and watched the Matrix movies. It wasn't a bad holiday.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really, really cool assessment that you just gave it, where it's more about their love story. I think you're right. And I do like that aspect of it. They have great chemistry. They always have. But because it's a Matrix movie, it's such a paradigm shift for what we're expecting.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it was a big misstep, because people are coming in expecting these very high quality action set pieces, right? And it's us versus the machines.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what that movie was about at all.
No.
So as a standalone story, very cool, great romance story, good chemistry between the actors. We care about them. We want them to be together. As a tail end aspect of The Matrix, it just felt a little bit off.
Yeah, I had watched the original 3 as well. Not like super close to the release, but I definitely planned it out. And then I watched the Animatrix. So I feel like the 4th movie could have been like the Animatrix, where Trinity and Neo are not the main characters.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just telling another cool story inside the Matrix, and they happen to be in the movie somewhere, like, of them. It's like, oh, there goes Neo flying by. Like, you could have done it in a way that sort of avoided a lot of the pitfalls that movie was just unfortunately like trapped into having to navigate.
Well, the funny thing is, my biggest issue with that movie is Keanu Reeves' hair. Because he is now, that hair and that beard is now iconic John Wick.
Yeah.
Everybody,
I got another John Wick movie to film. I can't cut my hair.
Exactly. I know it was part of the contract and that's why he didn't, but it was so off-putting because all I could see was John Wick in this movie. I couldn't see Neo at all. It was really, really hard. It took me out of the story completely. That's actually my biggest gripe about the newest Matrix. I know it's weird, but it ruined, I couldn't get into the movie because of it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a real thing. Like, he spent so much time distancing himself from the Matrix and sort of being the tentpole figure in another massive franchise, to then just like take that guy and just plug him right back into the other movie as if nothing has changed. And the studio and the directors and the actor all being like, can't do anything about it. So
yeah,
just gotta make it happen, Captain.
No, and that's just such a cop out. I know it's competing studios. I know it's competing schedules. I get all that, but not having Neo clean shaven, it's completely uncharacteristic of Neo. It's a problem. Yeah, it's a real problem.
I know. And there's a lot of reasons why people didn't like that movie, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But the movie that I will suggest,
maybe we could cover that in the future.
We could. We definitely could. A movie that I will suggest from also 1995. I was going two ways. I mentioned Lawnmower Man earlier, but realistically, I'm going to pick Virtuosity.
Yes. Great pick. Thank you.
Well, just recently I just saw Gladiator 2, so Gladiator 1, obviously, Russell Crowe. Gladiator 2, Denzel Washington. Virtuosity has both of them. And it's fucking crazy. Russell Crowe is a computer program that is brought to life via 3D printing. And he is a program that is a combination of every psychopathic murderer that's ever lived. And Denzel just gets to go crazy with them. So it's a lot of fun. It's hard to explain. It's so colorful. It's so strange. It's a tech thriller that involves a lot of computer stuff, like before computers were really common. So I feel like it fits a very, very like sort of narrow wavelength for that mid 90s tech thriller.
I agree. I think that's a great pick. Thank you for swooping in and having another suggestion, because I was floundering a little bit on that question. I apologize. Maybe Dark City, just because of the tone.
It's a good one. Love Dark City.
Jennifer Connelly, can't go wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we're definitely skirting around this movie and its genre and its feel. And so I think a lot of your audience could get a sense of what this movie entails and have a lot of fun with it if they come in with the right headspace and the right expectations.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Don't expect a masterpiece out of this movie. But if you want to see a world built of garbage
with a dolphin and robot
this is
Jesus.
You ever wanted to see a robotic dolphin and a robo Jesus? Then this is your movie. I almost forgot that we got to go to Critics Corner so we can actually hear the very,
please.
very shitty things that were talked about when this movie came out. Let's see. It has a Metascore of 36 overall, and we start at the bottom.
Fair. I was thinking like 42. So yeah, that's kind of fair.
Yeah, it's not too bad. The IMDb score is better than that. I think it's like a 5.6, so it's not atrocious. But
okay.
Metascore, of course, the critics will always be worse. We have New York Times. Karen James gave it a 10 out of 100.
Oh, you were going to say out of 10. I was like, whoa.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Nope. This is a 1 out of 10.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Johnny Mnemonic looks and feels like a shabby imitation of Blade Runner and Total Recall. It is a disaster in every way. Well, maybe I just like disaster. I do. What's wrong with a good old-fashioned disaster movie?
Oh, I love disaster movies. Dante's Peak. Sign me up. It's awful, but I love it.
Yeah. I know we're going to do a whole disaster month at one point and just like never quite figured it out.
Yeah.
So I already did Volcano, but Dante's would be another.
Definitely.
Okay, let's see. There's 350. We'll save those two. We'll save one of those, which means let's go to the 38 on the board. This is Real Views. This is James Berardinelli. I've read him a lot on the show. Says Johnny Mnemonic is brash, flashy, and loud, but it lacks a few key ingredients, namely heart, soul, and intelligence. It's mean, James.
Again, not wrong.
I think it's smarter than he's giving it credit for, but it doesn't focus on trying to be intelligent. Like, you could definitely tell this story where like you really play up all of those elements of like the evil pharma company, like the dangers of the internet, like all that stuff is sort of like bubbling beneath the surface of this new neo-noirish thriller. So
and there's a difference between being smart and using buzzwords. And I think that's what he's highlighting, is that all they do is use a lot of buzzwords and not dive into the serious aspects of what they're talking about. So I mean, it's fair.
Yeah. It's wet wired. Johnny, what does that mean? It means it's wet wired, okay? He goes over that a lot, but doesn't really sort of give us any context. We've got 1, 2, 3 50s on the board. We've got the Chicago Sun-Times, Roger Ebert. We've got the San Francisco Examiner with no name attached. And we've got TV Guide magazine also with no name attached. So I'm going to let you pick your poison. Which one of those do you want?
Let's go with Ebert.
Yeah, look, Raj gave it a 2 out of 4 on his scale. He says, Johnny Mnemonic is one of the great goofy gestures of recent cinema. A movie that doesn't deserve 1 nanosecond of serious analysis, but has a kind of idiotic grandeur that makes you almost forgive it. Bingo. Raj, I can always count on Roger Ebert.
Yes, that's why I picked him.
And he's still like, yeah, it's a 2 out of 4 movie, but you kind of have to appreciate how gigantically stupid this movie is.
He would have really enjoyed being on your show, I think. He was so forgiving in so many ways versus Siskel, who had such a stick up his ass during that show. I always had an affinity for Roger Ebert and sided with him most times when he was critiquing a movie.
Yeah, the reason I like to read him on the show is because he always seems to be complimentary of something that he doesn't like. Like, he still finds the good thing about the bad thing.
Silver lining kind of guy, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And I appreciate that. So he and I would have had some fun. Actually, my friend Scott, who's been on the show a couple times, he is a Ebert and Roper historian, I think.
Oh, cool.
Maybe Siskel and Ebert, but like a lot of the videos that are on YouTube are stuff that's from his private like VHS collection that was uploaded. So
wow, Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome that he saved those and now is sharing them.
Big Ebert guy. So
yeah.
Okay,
I met him once. Really nice guy.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I have Valley of the Dolls, which I still haven't watched. It's on my shelf. I have it pulled out. Like, remember to look at this and watch it in the future, and I still just haven't done it. So one day. All right. Austin Chronicle gave it a 67. This is Mark Savlov. For his first shot at feature filmmaking, Longo does an admirable job of keeping the storyline rocketing along. Though his seeming attempts to out Blade Runner Ridley Scott in the decaying cityscape department grow wearisome, and the occasional wooden drivel that Reeves spouts adds a bit of unintentional humor to the proceedings. But still gave it a 67 out of 100. I feel like a much meaner review than the one that we got from Roger Ebert.
Well, and he brings up a really good point that we didn't actually even touch on, is this is in fact his very first movie, right?
Yeah.
And it's a $30 million sci-fi film. That's not the first movie you should be directing.
No. He's like, I just wanted $1.5 million and they wouldn't let me.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I think and no dissing on Robert Longo. It wasn't his fault, and he has made some pretty good REM music videos in the past. So it was really, really cool, but I don't think he was the right director for this film in particular. But as a first foray into movie making, being a brand new director, of course he's going to say yes to whatever the producers are telling him needs to happen, right? And there's just so much going on with the special effects, the sets, the fact that it's sci-fi, and this is all new technology and words that we're using for an audience. Like I said, no dissing Robert Longo. I think he has talent. It's just I don't think was the right fit at the right time for him directing this movie.
Yeah, you mentioned that it was his first movie. It was also his last because he got thrown in the director gulag for this one.
Yeah, of course he got blamed, even though he didn't have any control over it, right?
Nope.
So classic.
First movie, we overfinanced you. You underdelivered. This is all on you. We're never going to let you do it again. But I mean, imagine that. It's like, I only asked for $1.5 million. It's not my fault that you gave me 30 and forced me to make it this type of movie. So.
And then came on set and I'm sure strong-armed me left, right, and center along with the writer.
Yeah. As a first-time director, what am I going to say? No to the studio that gave me $30 million?
Yeah, exactly.
Not so much. Okay, well, we'll close it out with San Francisco Chronicle. This is Mick LaSalle. Gave it a 75 out of 100. Highest score on the board. This is written by William Gibson, who adapted his own story and directed by New York artist Robert Longo. In his feature debut, Johnny Mnemonic is inescapably a very cool movie. Running at a fevered pace with laser and light explosions, it introduces a fantastic yet plausible vision of a computer-dominated age. So I'm curious at what year that review was written, because fantastically plausible is not the way I would describe the future, but surprisingly prescient, I would say, having the benefit of hindsight.
Yes, I would say like 97, 98 was when you could write that.
Yeah.
Like you could actually write that a couple years after Johnny Mnemonic came out and still be reasonable in your future predictions. Granted, thankfully we're not dystopian yet, and it didn't happen in 2021. But like we've talked about, there were a lot of aspects of the technology of this film that aren't far off from our current reality.
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that wraps up Critics Corner, and I want to give you a chance before we say our goodbyes to tell us about your show and what you're working on and where people can find you.
Absolutely. And I'm really happy to talk to you about these types, because my podcast is slightly different than yours, which is why I've now also invited you onto my show, because my co-host and I, John, he and I used to be in the film industry. We actually have a collective 25 years of experience in the film industry. And now we recommend movies to people every week without spoiling them. So that is Movies You Miss Podcast, and you can find it on any of your favorite podcast apps.
Yeah, you usually you bring like one topic and then you each bring a movie to the show.
That's right. Yeah, and we summarize the movie, the plot without spoiling it, and also share a lot of behind the scenes trivia and talk about any connections we have to either the actors or directors or our experiences behind the scenes that are relevant to that week's discussion.
What's it like getting to talk about good movies?
Well, it's fun every week, but there are a lot of times that John has picked movies that I don't think are any good.
Like Monkey Bone.
Like Monkey Bone, exactly, which John, I believe, is going to come on this podcast to talk to you about because he's found a friend, a fellow fan of that movie that I completely eviscerated when he picked it for our show.
It's me and John. We are the two fans of Monkey Bone.
Yes.
But I also like Cool World and a lot of that stuff that was just like, we don't know exactly what we're doing. We like cartoons, but this is a real movie and we're not sure how to do this. So yeah, I love the cast in that movie. And it's been a long time since I've seen it. So who knows how I'm going to feel watching it again. But I did enjoy it quite thoroughly at the time.
I'm glad, and I think that you and John will have a lot to talk about because there are a lot of crazy behind-the-scenes pieces of that production that are really fascinating, and like you said, it has a really good cast. But yes, anytime you want to talk about a good movie, not just a bad movie you love, feel free to come on our podcast. We're more than happy to follow your lead and have you pick the movie we talk about that week.
Ooh. That sounds fun. Now I have to think. I got to actually pick a good movie. Oh, my God. Okay. All right.
Pressure's on.
Pressure is on. It's hot in here. Well, V, thank you so much. I'm glad that we were able to work this out on short notice because I really wanted Robo Jesus to carry us from Lundgren Calling into Dystopian December. And I'm so glad that we can make it happen.
I think that's a sticker in the making.
Robo Jesus?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have to come up with when I do the ad read for this, it'll be something in relation to like Robot Christ.
Uh-huh.
Have you accepted Robot Christ as your Lord and Savior?
Exactly. Well,
Maybe.
thank you. Yes, always and forever. And thank you so much for having me on. It's great to be back, and I'm more than happy to return the next time you want to talk about a techno thriller because apparently that is the type of movie I discuss on this podcast.
You'll be the techno thriller expert.
There you go.
And then once we burn through all those, we can get into the other movies.
Yeah, Pauly Shore.
Yeah, exactly. Pauly Shore month. It's coming. I don't know what time in 2025, but we'll make it happen.
I feel like a March month, like a springtime month. I don't know why, but that speaks to me. But of course, summertime movies, those were all of his bread and butter. So maybe in like June or July too.
Yeah.
Any month can be Pauly Shore month is the moral of that story.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much for being here. Please have yourself a great rest of your day.
You too, Nick. Thanks so much.
I want room service! I want the club sandwich. I want the cold Mexican beer. I want a $10,000 a night hooker! I want my shirts laundered. Like they do at the Imperial Hotel in Tokyo.
Big thanks to V for coming back on the show and laughing with me like maniacs. It's always great to talk to them. If you want to hear more, you can check out V's show, the Movies You Missed podcast, and I'm going to have all of that information up and easily accessible for you in the show notes. And up next for Dystopian December, we're going to be talking about Cyborg from 1989. I've actually had this episode banked for about 6 months, and it's finally time to let it out into the world. And of course, thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to this episode. I know you have a lot of choices when it comes to podcasts, and I appreciate you spending your time with us. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you do, please consider leaving a rating and a review and telling a friend about it. And the support page is live over at ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/badmovieswelove. I'd also love to hear from you. So if you have a bad movie you love and or would like to be a guest on the show, you can contact me directly at badmovieswelove@theshice.com or badmovieswelove on Twitter and Instagram, and that's love spelled L-U-V. Until next time, take care, be well, and have fun however you get your movies.